What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Thursday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, also available online. Check it out, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google and Alexa home devices, speakers over there. Video streams also up and rolling, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. But big thanks for joining us and being a part of our Thursday morning here. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? Well, we are going to talk a little Brewers. Brewer Crew picking up the win last night. Tobias Myers, pretty darn sharp last night, picking up his 6th win. 8 shutout innings for Tobias Myers, just allowing 4 hits, striking out 6, 1 walk. Definitely, I mean, if you were watching the game there too, strike zone a little bit in the left corner there was open. But hey, Tobias Myers took advantage of that, and he had himself a fantastic night last night, going 8 strong innings. Yelich also collecting a couple of hits to move up his batting average to 335. A good night at the plate from Willie Adames, too. 3 hits, 4 RBIs. Sal Frelick collecting 3 hits, including a nice catch sliding into the wall and right field foul territory there, too. So, Brewers as a team, 14 total hits. 14 total hits. Nice bounce back victory for the Crew after their game on Tuesday, where they got shellacked 12-2. So now they could potentially win a series this afternoon, but it's going to be a tough one as they will be going up against rookie sensation Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens, who's 5-0, 2.12 ERA so far this season, all-star Paul Skeens. This will also be Aaron Savali, his second start with the Crew since being acquired from the Tampa Bay Rays. So obviously no experience with this Brewers lineup going up against Paul Skeens. But I got some Pirates players who've got a little bit of experience going up against Aaron today. So we shall see how it all plays out. But yeah, it'll be a tough one. It'll be a tough one this afternoon for the Crew. Hopefully the Bats still have a little something left from yesterday to put up some runs and maybe give Paul Skeens his first loss of the season. Today's game is going to be first pitch around 1:10. And then we got the final series before the All-Star break. Washington comes to town starting tomorrow. So, but we're going to talk plenty of Brewers here. Get you some injury updates and kind of maybe some returns of some players and such. Perhaps even right after the All-Star break. Brewers also getting a little bit of help from the Kansas City Royals yesterday in a doubleheader against the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals losing both those games to the Kansas City Royals. So right now, as things stand, the Brewers increasing their lead. It was 4 entering the day yesterday, but now back up to 5.5 games over the Cardinals for first place. So let's try to increase that lead a little bit more after today too. So plenty of baseball talk coming at you throughout the morning here. The Twinnies, by the way, yesterday splitting their series against the Chicago White Sox in a doubleheader, off day today for them before they take on the Giants. Speaking of doubleheaders, too, reminder, the Express have a doubleheader today at Carson Park. First pitch shortly after 11. So if got nothing going on, or maybe you want to do a little, maybe you could get away with doing a little work at the ballpark, get on down to Carson Park and take in a little doubleheader action today. So baseball talk coming at you. We're going to throw a little college hoops talk in here because former Badger basketball player Greg Stietsma is returning to the program in a brand new role. It sounds like director of player development. So Greg Stietsma, who has actually been spending some time in the NBA, did play in the NBA a little bit there too, but he's been kind of helping out and doing some coaching in the NBA, is returning back to the program. So, yeah, he was a player in the NBA and internationally before transitioning to player development roles in the NBA with the Minnesota Timberwolves and most recently with the San Antonio Spurs. So he's yeah, he was with the Spurs and helping out Victor Wembanyama and such, and he was on the coaching staff for the Spurs in the summer league in 2022. So definitely bringing a lot of NBA experience and knowledge with him. So again, I think it's just another example of college teams, whether it's basketball or football, maybe teams kind of in the ballpark of a Wisconsin, trying to find other ways to, you know, get ahead or compete with maybe some of the bigger programs out there, but trying to get a little creative, and trying to come up with new ways to take that next step, because it's going to be tougher, not only to win the conference, but potentially maybe, to get through that conference and maybe get to, competing for national championships and such. So, Badgers bringing in an alum who's got a wealth of experience, especially at the NBA level. So, we'll see how that kind of all plays out here. But definitely, we'll be talking with RJ about that next week when he's back on with us. But we'll hit that up here this morning, coming at you as well. So we got that. We got some outdoor tidbits with Jake Bolks. So hit us up with your questions. That now is the time to text us your questions. If you have any questions for a DNR warden, now is your time. Hit us up 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Anything that's crossing your mind, that way we can get them over to Jake. If you have to do it now, between now and 8 o'clock, text it to us so we can get those over to Jake. We'll do a little receiver defer coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, towards the back end of the 7 o'clock hour. So we'll hit that up. We may even throw a little football chats in here too, as we inch a little bit closer to training camp beginning for the Pack. Everything's kind of quiet right now leading up to the NFL, and I'm sure teams are really liking that, especially the coaching staff's really liking that it's staying pretty quiet leading up to camp here. Don't need any drama, don't need any any stories out there leading up before camp and such. So it's pretty quiet leading up to things, and quiet in a sense too that we haven't heard anything about Jordan Love and contract, and or maybe even Kenny Clark and some contract stuff. So it's kind of been quiet there, but we've seen it before in the past that once they return, they may be out of towns, but when they return right before camp, that's when contracts and deals kind of get signed up there. So wouldn't read too much into that. I know there's been some chit chat out there, at least on the web and on the socials, about why hasn't he signed up his contract. And I mean, right now he's probably doing a little vacay. He's newly engaged in that, so just wait till maybe he gets back into town, and then obviously Green Bay and probably Jordan Love would love to wrap it up right at the beginning of camp, because they don't want that being a talking point throughout camp and leading into the season here. They got some big fish to fry this upcoming season with the Super Bowl and championship aspirations coming to them. So, but we'll throw that in. We may throw a little hoops chat in here too. With with the Olympics, how honestly, just like as an informal poll, how interested are you in the Olympics this year? Are you paying attention to any certain events in the Olympics? Is it basketball? Is it track and field? Is it something else? I mean, where's your gauge, or where's your interest level when it comes to the Olympics? I know we got a couple weeks yet before it starts. It comes at the end of the month, but we've got some, obviously some trials were going on and qualifiers for the Olympics, and basketball is getting some work in right now with some exhibitions and such. USA defeated Canada over an exhibition, so you got that going on. But where is your interest level in this thing. Just kind of an informal poll. You can hit me up with a text or message on the video streams, text or tweets, whatever the case may be. So, but just kind of curious where everybody's at with with that one. So, also we've got the second round that kicked off, by the way, for our bracket challenge for the most underrated Wisconsin sports player of all time, and we started it off with a tight one: Chuck Cecil and Paul Kaufman. And I'll tell you right now, it's very tight. We need more votes though, so time is running out. If you want to get in, it's one of those again where if you go to Facebook, Chuck Cecil's winning comfortably, but if you go to Twitter, Paul Kaufman's winning comfortably. So it's tight right now. You still have some time, a little bit of time. We need more votes though. So head on over to Facebook, facebook.com/Kasper Sports, and vote on the poll. You got to scroll down a little bit on there, or vote on Twitter at DANKASPER. So let's get some votes in, and then we'll go probably we'll probably do a couple of them today. May go to the Badger region here and go to the Bucks/Open region. I think we'll do two. We'll save the Brewers one for tomorrow there. So, but get your votes in. Otherwise, we got to put it in the hands of maybe people you don't want to be the deciding votes out there, if you know what I mean. So, but get those votes in. We got about I think it's less than an hour. So, but it's tight right now between Chuck Cecil and Paul Kaufman. So get those on in. Let's get things rolling here this morning, though. Okay, coming up, let's talk some Brewers after last night's shutout victory for the Crew. Tobias Myers, pretty darn solid, going 8 innings, shutout ball, 4 hits, 6 Ks, issuing just 1 walk. Willy Adames had a home run last night. Good night for Willy Adames. Hoskins had a home run over there too. But Willy Adames, who's been, kind of for a couple of weeks ago, was kind of struggling a little bit at the plate there, but he collected 3 hits with that homer. He's got his average up to a 240, OPS 745. Yelly collecting a couple hits. Sal Frelick. I think Sal Frelick kind of quietly is having himself a pretty darn solid year. I mean, we've focused a lot on, and rightfully so, like Contreras, Yelich, even Cheerio, Adames, Hoskins with the home run ball and such. But you look at Sal Frelick, and Sal Frelick is he's having himself a solid season. At the plate, defensively, made a nice catch in foul territory, sliding into the wall there. Makes it look smooth. And if you were watching the game too, I mean, he looks like he's a dude that's having fun in the dugout too, kind of having some fun when you have a seeing eyeball grounder going through. He's doing, the scene. I had to explain that to Hudson. And then, when Hoskins hit the home run, he's at the top step, having a little fun with that. But Sal Frelick, I think, is quietly having a very solid season in his second year with the ball club. He's up to a 269 average, a 690 OPS, couple home runs. I mean, he's not a home run threat, but I mean, you look at his last 15 games, 333, 438 slugging, 396 on base. I think he's kind of maybe flying a little bit under the radar, Skosh. So, but we've got plenty of Brewers talk. We'll do that coming up after we take our first break this morning. Then we'll get things rolling here on the leadoff. Join in on the convo. Hit us up with some messages on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line with some text or comment on the video stream, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. 10 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. tee times for the Casper Classic are officially sold out. Sold out for the fourth straight year. This year, we've added another flight, though. We have that 7:30 in the morning flight for anybody who wants to go out there and maybe get a round in or a little bit of an overflow. We got Surveyor Sam, Philly Fan Dave, and a couple others that'll be out there during 7:30. So you can still sign up for those by visiting sportstalk1051.com and registering your two-person team. But big thanks to Princeton Valley Golf Course for hosting us again this year. Our Champions Meal sponsors, Hy-Vee from Eau Claire, Green Jacket sponsors, Muldoon's Menswear, our putting green sponsor, Gemco Surfaces, Title Belt sponsors, Residence Branding Company, beverage sponsors, Park Ridge Distributing. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Carpet City Flooring Center, AJM Automotive Service, The Elbow Room, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Dudage Inn, Hannah Sellner Agency, American Family Insurance, Shepke Chiropractic, Shoe Doctor, Service Master Chippewa Valley, Myron Construction, and VFW Post 305. So coming up August 2nd, Friday, August 2nd. Should be a lot of fun out there. And a big thanks to all of you who have signed up and signed up early. Fourth straight year we have sold out. So, you're not at the fair yet this morning, though, big boy. You've been busy over there?
It's been fun at the fair, I'll tell you. But they've got some things going on today. They'll start the dairy show about 9 o'clock. No lactating dairy cows because of the bird flu. But one of the things they've started that should be fun, I'm looking forward to watching it, is they're having a master showman contest. Now, for those that have been to the fair, you know what showmanship is all about. You know, you show your animals for the quality of the animal, and then after that's all done and they place the animal, the grand champion and all that, they have a showmanship contest in various age groups. So the kids come in and show the judge how good they are as a showman, setting up their animals, showing off their animals, keeping it in front of the judge, answering questions about the animal, whatever it may be. It's all goes into a champion showman, the best showman. And they're going to have, for the first time at this fair, other fairs have had it before, but this fair is going to be a master showmanship contest. So the master senior showman winner for the beef, dairy, hogs, and sheep will all show. And the way it works, and I'm sure I'm anticipating, I should say, it's going to work this way at the Chippewa Northern Wisconsin State Fair today, starting at 1 o'clock, is that they all show a different species. You'll come in maybe and show your beef, if that's what you showed in the fair, and then you'll also have to show a dairy animal. You'll also have to show a hog, and you'll also have to show a lamb. And they're all different techniques. So it should be fun. And then, of course, tonight, the meat animal auction starts at 6. And I always tell anybody can come up and buy if you want to fill your individual freezer, or if you maybe have a small business and you're wondering, what do I buy my people for Christmas? I'm sure they'd like a check for Christmas, but as a little bonus, maybe go up and buy a hog or steer. Nothing wrong with it. Maybe in August, give them 25 pounds of meat.
Yep.
From a hog, some pork chops and bacon. Wouldn't that be good? Or some steaks and hamburger, or some lamb chops. But again, so that's tonight. Anybody's welcome to come up and buy, and new buyers are always welcome. It's a lot of fun. It's not a big pressure deal or anything like that, but it's always fun. So still a lot to do at the fair.
Yeah.
To make a long story short.
And obviously it goes all the way through Sunday. So still a few days going on. You do something on Sunday too, don't you?
Well, there's a big draft horse show on Sunday.
Okay,
I've got a family reunion to go to, so I usually announce that. But beautiful new horse arena too.
Mm-hmm.
The horse arena is different. It used to be you had to go from the barns across that side road and then to the horse arena. And now the horse arena is right outside the horse barn. You go outside the horse barn, it's a big, beautiful horse arena. So that's new up at the fairgrounds. And if you haven't seen the new buildings that were broken in last year, so this is the second year, the new Custer Coliseum, Grain, just tremendous build there, and beautiful facility, but lots still to go on this weekend.
How much fair food have you had yet so far? Dabbled in a little bit here or there?
Dabbled in a little bit here and there, I will say, but
only happens once a year, right?
Well, the problem is there's more fairs next week. There's more fairs the week after that, but this is the start of the fair season. But yeah, at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, there is a wide variety of food that you can enjoy, and you must enjoy it. It is, I don't care what you like, you can get it at the fair.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a good time of the year to change the grease in your body.
Get ready for fall and winter, right?
Absolutely.
So
Fatten up a little bit. Put a little cover on.
Oh man, yeah, we'll be heading over this weekend too with the little guy. So, but
Yeah,
it'll be a
lots
lot
of great
fun.
rides for the kids. Always fun to watch the kids on the rides. I always walk through the midway and stop and watch the kids. Some of those kids can hardly wait to get on the rides. Other kids are screaming, "Don't make me do that, Mom!"
Yep.
But once they get on, they all smile. So it's a lot of fun at the fair.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And weather looks like Mother Nature is going to cooperate too.
Definitely. Well, one thing you don't have to worry about when it comes to Mother Nature and getting games in is down in Milwaukee, but they got the win last night. Shutout victory for Mr. Tobias Myers, his
8
sixth win.
innings.
Yeah, 8 innings, 4 hits, only issuing 1 walk. Did take advantage of a little bit of a wide open strike zone, but hey, good pitchers do that, right?
Absolutely, and we know that can happen at any time. I remember years ago a wide open strike zone in the World Series that was unbelievable. That's the worst ball strike calling I've ever seen, was that particular game in the World Series years ago. I don't know if you remember that game.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, take advantage of it. He did, and it was both sides too. I mean, both.
Yeah.
It was for both teams there. But Tobias Myers, for a guy, for staff too, that's going to be getting some arms back here after the All-Star break. It sounds like, but making the case that they maybe should keep him in that starting rotation right now, and I hope they keep him in that starting rotation the way he's pitching right now. So,
how many times? And I thought about this again when they got beat the night before 12-2, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'll bet tomorrow that Pittsburgh doesn't score over 2 runs. How many times the Brewers have gotten 13, and next day they got shut out. I mean, it just seems to be a trend. It always seems to happen.
Well, they I don't know if they're the only team, but it gets mentioned every time. They have not lost more than 3 games in a row this year.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, so they've never lost like 4, 5, 6, or anything like that in a row. They've lost 3 in a row, obviously with like the Padres series where they lost the first 3 and came back, but they've never lost more than 3 in a row with that. And that kind of there's a really good article if you got some time. It was posted up early this morning on Brewers.com. But again, I think is another example of Pat Murphy knowing the pulse or having the pulse of this team. There was, I guess, a team meeting yesterday, and it was originally scheduled over there, but Pat Murphy said that I gave them a little bit of a gift, and here was a quote that Pat Murphy said from yesterday. But he calls he gathered the coaches and the players in the clubhouse for a monthly look under the hood of what he calls the quote the bus. The people in there nodding towards the locker room. That's the bus. We don't discuss Major League Baseball or what's going to come or the trade deadline. None of that is going to affect us. Let's just worry about the bus. Moods don't matter much to me. It's the behavior of the dudes on the bus. And I thought I'd give them a gift. The gift was a T-shirt with "Undaunted" written across the chest in the script found on the Brewers' alternate uniforms. Murphy says he first came across the word in a newspaper clipping from 1932 about his father's high school football exploits. And at first, he didn't know what the word meant, so he looked it up, and he had the definition printed and placed at each locker Wednesday along with the shirt. Not intimidated or discouraged by difficulty, danger, or disappointment. And maybe you saw some of the photos, but in their on-field work before the game yesterday, they were all wearing those T-shirts over there too. And Reese Hoskins said that it was just kind of it worked, that meeting and just kind of those chats was the perfect time after coming off of a game like against Pittsburgh. And he said just the mood, everybody's joking around, keeping it lighthearted and such. And it's just again, maybe another example of Murphy having a great pulse on this team right now.
Well, he's pulling the right string so far this year, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, and you look at the guy, and he's very, and I think for the players, it's an advantage, a very calm type. You're not a Billy Martin type of manager, you fire off from the hip all the time, or Leo DeRocher, or some of those guys that had had a personality, let's call it, as far as
Lou Piniella and all
their
that.
management style. And he's very sublime, very serene, very professional, and I think very personable as far as his players are concerned. And his press conferences, he gets something out of his press conferences, unlike Craig Counsell, who I'm not running down because I've said 100 times he was a great manager for the Brewers, but he was a different personality, and his press conferences weren't worth having as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. He always has a couple of his nephews up there with him too. But
baseball is a family sport, family game. When you have a picnic, what do you play? You play a little softball or baseball or whatever you do. Or you shoot hoops. I mean, that's
go to the sandlot and play baseball. We all did it as kids, right? In the backyard
and
or something.
That's the way he kind of treats it.
Yeah, and there was there was a comment on, I don't know which game it was. I think it was in that Rocky series, or not the Rocky, the series prior. Anyways, but Rhys Hoskins got hit with a pitch. Was it the Rock? Was it the? No, it was the Dodger series. Yeah, it was just the one previous. So Rhys Hoskins got hit with a pitch, but it was by the same pitcher who hit him in that Mets series, the opener one. So there was a little bit of animosity, and apparently a bunch of the Brewers stepped up right away on the first step, and then the bullpen was ready. Nobody, ran out there, but one of the announcers said, I can't remember who it was. They said, Brewers players were ready to go out there, and they said, well, that's probably another, just feeding off of the Pat Murphy vibe. Like, it just seems like everybody's got each other's back. They're ready. Like, nothing happened, but they noted like everybody stood up right away just in case something was going to happen, sort of thing.
That's a hard thing. From a fan standpoint, from the players on the field, they know the vibe of the other players. But, we've all played baseball. We've all gotten hit by a pitch. And, was it intentional? The players on the field probably know when it's intentional, when it's an all-out brawl. But it's part of the game, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It is, yeah.
Whether it's intentional or not, it's part of the game. It's one way to send a message, or a ball just got away from a pitcher. But getting hit by a pitch is part of the game.
As long as you don't do it like headhunting on purpose.
That's inexcusable.
Little bit of the chunky thigh part right over there. That's always been around, right?
It's always going to be a part of the game.
So, tough one though today. Paul Skeens is going to be on the mound
this kid has come from nowhere to be a star.
Rookie sensation, all-star this year, just getting his feet wet in the majors, and he's already 5-0 over here. So, I mean, I think it's kind of a receiver defer, but like I think he's potentially could be the next superstar. The other, like, I've never seen this before. I mentioned it yesterday with Luke. So their first game, the Brewers posted this. They posted a picture of Paul Skeens that said Paul Skeens requested to have a meeting with the GOAT, and they were talking about Euchre, and they posted a picture of Euchre and Paul Skeens. This is from the Brewers doing, and I don't know if I've seen that too often.
Well, I don't know where this kid comes from or where his home is, but I think that's great. It's baseball is a game, and we all know it's a business too, obviously, but it's a game. And this kid grew up, and he probably watched Major League and followed the Brewers somehow to hear Euchre, and Euchre is unique. Are you going to request Pat Hughes for the Cubs in the Hall of Fame? But has he got the kind of personality where the player on another team says, I want to meet that guy?
Right.
Euchre is so unique in this game.
Oh, no question about it. It's just, for me, it was like a rookie and like the opposing team, a division rival, kind of saying Paul Skeens wanted to meet the GOAT, and I think there's a lot of Brewers fans that probably want to go to the game today just to see Paul Skeens pitch.
Oh, there's no question about it. You should. That's for sure. And it'll be interesting to follow him. Is he going to be, like Dwight Gooden when he came up 19 years old, made the All-Star team as a 19-year-old kid. And, are they going to figure him out? Well, they didn't figure him out. He was pretty darn good if he hadn't kind of self-destructed. And this kid, it'll be fun to watch him. I hope he becomes a great pitcher. We need more more stars in the game, and having him in Pittsburgh is great because Derek Cole was in Pittsburgh and then he left for more money, and that's how it's designed. And I'm sure Skeens is going to do the same thing. He'll be 4 or 5 years in Pittsburgh, and
that's what I wonder. You got O'Neal Cruz. I know Reynolds just locked up a deal, but I mean, they got nice young players over there.
They do, but they've also got some management that traditionally over the years has decided they like that extra money in their own pocket rather than giving it to players. And so, and with a small market franchise, whether it's Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, Kansas City, Milwaukee, whatever, you got to make those decisions. You don't have to make those decisions in New York and LA and Boston and places like that, but you do in these other markets.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Brian Reynolds signed that contract, we looked it up, and I have it here. Jason Kendall for the longest time was still up there for one of the biggest contracts in Pittsburgh Pirates history.
Jason Kendall,
former catcher, 1 year with the Brewers over there. But yeah, it's Brian Reynolds has the biggest one. Mitch Keller is second, who just signed a 5-year, 77. Then it was Hayes, 8 years, 70 million. But then Kendall for the longest time, 6 years, 60 million. That was back in 2000. So, but you're right. That would surprise you, like McCutchen, right? You would think McCutchen would have, kind of raked in there with a big contract and such. But
he never was at the right time to get that big life-changing contract.
Yeah, he signed a 6-year, $51.5 million extension in 2012, and it says here this deal was the definition of a hometown discount. Right there.
Exactly.
So, definitely. But
and I wish the Brewers would have kept him, but he went back to Pittsburgh, and that's where I'm sure he feels more comfortable. But I thought he contributed to the Brewers last year.
Was it last year or 2 years or whatever it might have been a couple of years ago? Yeah. So, but Sal Frelick, though, I want to chat a little bit about him because I think he's a guy that's kind of having flying under the radar for the type of season he's having. I mean, he's up to 269 right now. He collected 3 hits last night, had that catch in foul territory sliding through their last 15 games. He's hitting 333. If we want to expand it to his last 92 at bats, he's 293 at the plate. He's not a power guy, but I feel like with all, obviously we're talking about Yelich in the season he's leading the National League in batting average. Jackson Chourio, William Contreras, Bryce Terang, even Adames in his home runs. I feel like Frelick, for a second-year guy, is kind of maybe flying under the radar for a solid season that he's having so far.
I agree with you 100%. He's kind of the, he and Bryce Terang, being the young guys that they are, but they're showing the consistency. They're really, to borrow the phrase, the stir this stick that stirs the drink. I think this year, those two guys.
I agree. I mean, and Frelick has shown that you can kind of put him in anywhere in that lineup. If you want some speed at the top, you can put him there, middle, towards the bottom, whatever the case may be. And this is the one thing too. I think it was Brian Anderson mentioned it. I was able to watch a little bit on the tube yesterday. Left-handed pitcher. A lot of teams, they'll put the right-handed batters up there. And we talked about this a few weeks ago with Terang and such. And now Pat Murphy's been playing Terang against left-handed pitchers. Sal Frelick, left-handed hitter too. But Brian Anderson mentioned that Pat Murphy kind of said, I'm giving you the opportunity to prove that you can go out there and hit these left hand. Again, it's a little bit more of an old school approach, I think, because the analytics say don't do it. Can't do that. And he's bucking that trend. And it worked. It's been working for the most part. He's being a little creative where Terang's not the leadoff hitter. He's going towards the bottom. But he's given the guy an opportunity to go out there and perform. Frelick last night with 3 hits and then going oppo with that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, analytics say you're not supposed to do that.
But Murphy manages different. The analytics, he's an old school, look my players in the eye and see what I'm getting back from them. And he can tell the guys that, they're ready to cinch it up and they don't care who's out there. They're going to take them on and give you 100%, 110% effort all the time. But I think those two guys, and I'm trying to think of Frelick as you've been talking about that, spinning through the Rolodex of my mind, which doesn't have a lot of cards in it. But who the players over history have been those utility players that can do so many things. As you said, he got 3 hits, made a great catch in the outfield, and he can run the bases. Who some of those players are that haven't been the stars of their team,
Right.
but they've been the ones that make their team go. And I'm just trying to think over the years who some of those guys have been on some of these different teams
Mm-hmm.
that don't, the game's over, they're not in the headlines. Next game is over, they're not in the headlines, but you look at it, Freelick makes a catch, 3 hits,
Mm-hmm.
and who some of those guys are. There have been guys like that, but I think Freelick and Trang both. Trang in second base is a superstar, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And defensively as well as his offense is coming along. I just think those two guys are so valuable to this team. And I know they locked up Freddie Peralta with a contract a long time ago. Boy, I'd be locking up Freelick and I'd be locking up Terang right
I'd co-sign that. Yep.
Yeah, I think those two guys are. But can you think of any just offhand?
That's a good question.
Some of those guys are, if you guys out there this morning, who are some of the guys over the years that we've followed in baseball that have really been the guys that mixed it up for their team, but haven't been the superstars for their team?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that Freelick is in that category.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taxing my mind now to think of some of those players, and I know there have been a lot of them out there, but I think he's one of these really
Mm-hmm.
under the radar stars for this team.
I agree. I would agree. That's a good question. Hit us up with some messages. Who do they kind of remind you of? Out there too. So, and the speed of this team, with the Freelick and a Terang. I mean, on display last night too. When you have Terang at first and Contreras ropes a double that was almost 118 miles off, but scores from first.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to use that speed, and we've talked about, where it's almost a guarantee he's going to steal if he's on first base. But to have that luxury where you pretty much know if you're a third base coach, you're like, okay, I'm sending that guy.
Yep.
Whether it's Freelick or whether it's
Get the
Terang,
windmill wound up and
right?
just start wheeling because they're not going to stop. And boy,
Yeah.
that's a wonderful weapon to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge threat when you've got a guy at first and he's a threat to score from over there on a base hit.
And what have we always said? Put pressure on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Freelick's on first base, and depending right-handed, left-handed hitter, the shortstop or second baseman, are they going to just by natural reaction, every pitch take that step towards second base, and maybe a ball will get through the hole because of that? There's so many things under the radar that you don't, the average fan doesn't realize is going on. But if you put pressure on that defense, make that defense move,
Mm-hmm.
they're set up because they know Yelich is a pull hitter.
Yeah.
All right. So if all of a sudden they start moving around the infield, that opens up some holes. So I just think there's so many value pieces to those guys when they get on base. And Murphy's not afraid to move them.
No.
And I don't know if these guys like Freelick has a go sign automatically or if he waits for the signal from the dugout. I don't know, but I'm sure as more that they play, the more they're going to get the green light. You get on, you read the defense, you read the situation, you read the pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
If you can go. Don't just go because you get on. But as these guys get more involved in the game and more aware of the situation, I mean, they're major league players right now, but you're always learning. And that's one of the things that they learn is read that pitcher. Every pitcher is different. They get out there and test their motion and all this, a lot involved. And I just think those guys are just going to get better and better and
Mm-hmm.
better and richer and richer and richer. And I hope they sign them to a contract soon.
And, one of those guys too, that, you talk about stealing, but I think this is a sign that kind of shows how healthy he is Yelich.
Yeah.
Stealing. I mean, he's stolen a base in each of the last couple games there. Obviously, we know what he's doing from the plate offensively, but the fact that he's out there stealing bases, even stealing, second to third over there, I think that shows you that his back's feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, and he can run. And, an announcer pointed it out in a game, I don't know when it was, week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, that Yelich's speed from home to first isn't earth-shattering, excuse me. But once he gets on base, from base to base, he is really fast. He's really a smart base runner.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets those legs going, and he's another guy from first to home in a big hurry.
Yep, exactly. It seems like he can read that perfectly, get that nice little jump and a little couple crow hops there, and and he's off to the races. He's like a sneaky fast because you look at him, you're like, okay, he's not a speed guy. You wouldn't think that.
But boy, he can run.
He can. It's like a gazelle out there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He
Yeah.
does. He has those legs, and he doesn't take a lot of steps between bases because he does have these long legs.
Mhm.
And again, when these guys, and he's able to read pitchers, obviously, but I think when Turang and Yelich and even Ortiz, some of these other guys
Mhm.
mature and learn more about the game itself while the game is being played. Like I said, the pitcher motion, the infield positioning, what kind of hitter they've got at behind them if they're on base. A lot of things to be able to read into the situation. And as these guys learn more and more, I'm sure Murphy's going to give them more and more rain.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right, get those. We got a few names. We'll give you a couple more minutes to send some of those names. Who are guys like Turang or Frelick maybe kind of remind you of? Those type of
Table
players.
setters or
Yeah.
just defensive upsetters. They're just to upset.
Pivotal role players,
Yeah, it can change the game without hitting a home run
Mhm.
type of players.
Yep. So hit us up with the text 715-830-1912. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to finish up the first hour after these quick words. Coming up next Wednesday, it's the ASAP Used Auto Parts Annual Car Show, Wednesday, July 17th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. One of the best car shows in the area. So bring the family on down and check out some sweet wheels. Or if you want to bring your car down too, again, ASAP Used Auto Parts located at 1330 Menominee Street in Eau Claire. That's right across the street from the Dodge over there. Big Stack Meats will be there with their food truck, and if you enter one of your cars, you will get a free meal ticket with your car entry too. So put on your calendars, July 17th, next Wednesday, ASAP Used Auto Parts Annual Car Show. We've gotten quite a few Jim Gantner picks for Bryce Terang for comparison there.
I think Bryce Terang is quicker. Jimmy Gantner was a wonderful player, but I think I'd take Bryce Terang over Jim Gantner. As much as I like Jim Gantner during those years, he contributed during the Out Molitor years, no question about it. But I think I'd take Terang. But I agree, he's in the same category. He was a great utility player, good solid base runner, a great defender. Yeah, that's a good one.
We've had a couple of Dustin Pedroia picks
Good
too.
one. Good one.
You
Yeah,
like that one?
thank you. Yeah, from Boston.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. But guys like that just were real spark plugs for their team.
Yeah. What give us some outfielders to compare with maybe Frelick now too.
Yeah.
That might be the tougher one to
Yeah,
kind of
it
think
might
of.
be. Yeah, but those guys, I just think those guys have such bright futures. Those two guys have such bright futures, and I want that future to be in Milwaukee.
Right? No kidding.
I mean,
So
they deserve all the money they're going to get. But I remember watching Frelick's first game, and his family was all the way
yeah.
from Boston, and he showed right from the beginning that he wasn't intimidated, and he's just grown since then.
Yeah. I mean, he's go back to spring training and it was like, okay, how are we going to get Frelick to, trying to play him at third base and all that. And an injury to Garrett Mitchell allowed him to play more outfield. Now it's like, I think I'd rather have Frelick out there and then Joey Ortiz, stay over there, and on man out is probably Garrett Mitchell right now at this point.
Yeah, he's back, and but he's got to get a chance to play. He's got to get he's got to get his wings, so to speak, and he can't do it playing one game and then being off for two or three. So if you're going to play the guy, you got to put him in there and let him play.
Yeah. And I mean, Blake Perkins is playing solid too, so it's hard to, with how he plays center field, especially defensively. I mean, I know the announcers like to call him smooth operator out there because everything's just kind of smooth with him. So, but hey, that's the price of winning though too, and a lot of guys playing well, right?
A lot of guys contributing, as you said, they're playing well, and boy, it's fun to see. And you just hope that you got enough of those guys, those spark plugs, that they don't go into a slump and lose more than 3 games at a time, because it's a long season. We're not into the dog days of August yet, so there's still a lot of challenges ahead for this team.
Yep.
But what did the Cardinals lose a doubleheader yesterday?
Yep.
Let's see, the Cubs won. We beat the Pirates, Cincinnati. So what's the lead now? 4.5?
5.5 over the
5.5.
Cardinals. Yep. 9.5 over Pittsburgh and 10 over the Cubs and Reds right now.
So, I mean, it's a good situation to be in, but it's a long season.
It is. Joey Ortiz will be back pretty darn soon, it looks like. He's going to get a rehab assignment as soon as well, they're even saying maybe as soon as this weekend he could potentially return. So Gary Sanchez, he will be back after the All-Star break, but he was actually in the dugout last night. So he'll be back, especially that'll be a nice one against left-handed pitchers to have his power over there too. Jared Koenig's going to be back pretty soon. Coming up here too. Joe Ross had himself a nice night at AAA. So
got to expand the roster to get all these guys on there.
Exactly, right? So all right, 1 hour in. We'll get back. We'll have plenty of Brewers baseball talk coming up a little bit later on here too, but we'll be back after these news updates. Second hour on this Thursday morning of July 11th. What, day 2 of the Northern Wisconsin State Fair? Day 2 coming in?
Today is officially day 2.
Officially day 2?
Started Tuesday with the hogs.
Okay.
And,
but with the rides
goat
and all that
judging,
stuff and
yeah.
all that. So get on out there.
Beautiful weather for the fair.
Absolutely.
You don't need a sweatshirt.
No. No, not at all.
Not at all. They had Queen last night. Lee Bryce will be in the grandstand tonight. Market animal auction at 6. That's always a lot of fun. And as we said earlier, something new. The showmanship competition. The top senior showmen for the various species are going to be there, and they'll be showing their skills with all the animals. So,
I bet you're looking forward to the Ludacris concert. You're a big Ludacris fan, aren't you?
Well, I saw that commercial on TV. That's Ludacris. What? I have no idea who that is.
Yeah. Roll out, big 90s rap and all that. Yeah, that's your wheelhouse.
I'll be right there. Yeah, I got front row seats.
Oh, boy. Hey, before we I saw this pop up a little this day in sports history. This was back in 1996. Vlade Divac accepts a trade from the Lakers to the Hornets. Lakers get draft pick, some guy named Kobe Bryant. Said Hornets owner George Shinn, quote, "I think this is the best trade we've made in the history of the franchise." Didn't work out that way. No offense to Vlade. He is in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And you don't know, let's be fair, we didn't know Kobe was going to be Kobe after that, but still, it was.
You never know these guys. I mean, they didn't obviously. There were a couple teams that didn't know Michael Jordan was going to be Michael Jordan when he got drafted 3rd.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Kobe wouldn't have lasted to the middle of that first round if you knew Kobe was going to be, one of the top players of all time either. So,
what do you think? Speaking of that, top players of all, what do you think of this kid, this Cooper, whatever his name, that played against the Olympic team the other day, and he's going to Duke? I never heard of him before.
There was Cooper Flagg. Is it Flagg?
Yeah, I think that's Flagg.
He the Duke commit. So there's been a lot of hype surrounding him. I know Dan Patrick's been talking a lot about him.
Yeah.
Coming in here, and could he be not the next LeBron, but in terms of like the hype leading up to a draft
he's a big
and all that.
He's pretty agile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe a 1-year sort of thing at Duke, and he's not really. He's gonna get, you know what I mean? Like he's for his age, still 17 or 18 or around there. So, but yeah, I mean, he's a big guy who can hit the 3. I mean, you got to play that now in today's league.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to be a big that shoots from the 3. So, but there's a lot of talk surrounding this kid right now.
But really, also, we're getting off on different topic here, but I was also watching the summer league.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA Summer League, all these rookies coming in and second, third year play. Zach Edey doesn't look too bad playing against some of this competition.
Would he have a double-double the other night?
Yeah, the big kid from Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody said, well, he can't make it in the NBA. He's a big guy that can't shoot the 3. But, well, I'll tell you, around the basket, he's a load.
It's so weird because, at the end of that college basketball season, there was questions like, was he going to get drafted? Was he going to be? Could he get in the first round? And then he ends up being a top 10 pick. So I mean, how things change within just a couple of months. We see it in the NFL draft all the time too. But
Memphis may have the last laugh on this one.
Yeah, we'll see. A little old school, type of center.
Yeah.
So,
but the thing.
If John Morant can stay out of trouble and stay healthy, I think Memphis can have a bounce back type season. But that's a big if right now.
Yeah, the way he can play, and if Zach Edey's under that, I mean, he comes around, all of a sudden he can't get his layup. Just throw it in the air, let Edey go get it. He's 7'4".
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about Edey is he's such a level keeled guy.
Yep.
He's even
level minded and all. Yep.
I mean, he gets bounced around and pushed around. You never see him come up swinging his elbows or doing any of these. He's just out there to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a great temperament. I
Mm-hmm.
watched him at Purdue and watching him now just that one game. I've seen him as a pro, but he hasn't changed. And these guys are going after him, and they're knocking him down and pushing him around. And in the end, he's either going to the free throw line or he's dunking it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's production.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He had himself a nice night the other night, no question. So it's been otherwise kind of quiet. I mean, because you got the USA team, they just had their exhibition against Canada and they won. I mentioned this the other day, but it's like one of the things some people were talking about too, like trying to compare this team to the 92 Dream Team. And I'm just like, do we have to do that for every 4 years with this team, with these teams? I mean,
completely different players.
Right. And I get it. I mean, it's July, it's kind of a lull month and that, and you got to come up with talking. But I mean, if we're going to get into that, I'll still take 92 any day of the week.
I think 92, those players, we knew who they were, what they could do, and they knew who they were and what each one could do. I think this team is still, I don't know if there's still a little competition among the guys. They're all talented. They can all play. I mean, it is another dream team too, or whatever you want to call it. But I think they've got to, they got to find their place in the hitch, so to speak. Are they're going to be the lead team or they're going to be the wheel team? And so
I'd still take they called themselves the redemption team when Kobe and LeBron and Coach K and those guys. I'd still take that one over this one.
Well, one thing about it in the United States, we've got a bounty of riches to pick from when it comes to putting together a basketball team.
Well, it's like Kawhi Leonard drops out. Oh boy, who are we going to try to replace? No offense to Kawhi, but it's like you got some nice players you can choose from too.
Absolutely. So I think this team is, and I watched that last night because a lot of guys are saying Canada's got a real shot at the gold medal. When I saw some of the people that they came in with, they got some great players, no question. But this center, this kid that came in, Kelly and Ross, I don't know, he's played with a bunch of teams. He got a long hair, ponytail type thing. But I'm thinking if this guy is one of their top players against the United States, no, I don't think so. Now when you got Embiid and Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo, thank you, from Miami, they're 10 times the player this kid is from Canada in the middle. So, and I just, Canada's going to be good. They are good. But boy, it would be a major with a capital M.
You're not thinking of Kelly Olynyk, are you?
Yeah, that Kelly. Okay. Yeah, that kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a nice player, but he played a lot of minutes for Canada last night. And if he's going to be one of those guys that's going to play a lot of minutes against the U.S., I don't think it's going to be real profitable for Canada.
Yeah, I think they'd rather lean on like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, somebody like that.
But see, the United States has got so many guys to lean on. Canada doesn't have near that many. And so they got a nice team and they got some nice players. They play hard, but there's no question where the talent is.
That's where, not to rehash the topic from yesterday, but it's like when the 2028 Olympics come around, you talk about talent. Who if they allow the pros, who is going to take down the U.S. in flag football? If they allow NFL players to play, and NFL players NFL players want to play, that 2028 there's going to be flag football in the Olympics when it's in Los Angeles. What other country, if they allow NFL players, the U.S. allows it, what other country can compete with that? It's like, if there's going to be that much, like, I feel like it's going to be pure domination if they let NFL players play.
Oh, I think so too.
And at that point, it's like, okay, how long is that going to last them? Because I feel like there's tier 1, it's USA with NFL players, and there's like tier 5. And that's the next closest.
And I don't understand, they every year, every Olympics, they put new sports in and take some sports out. For a while, they had women's softball was out. And I don't know if that's back in or not. But, the United States and Japan dominated that.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about domination. Flag football with NFL players.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be more of a rout than the 92 Dream Team in basketball. The world has gotten better since 1992, basketball wise.
Oh yeah.
But flag football, we go over there now and football is new. Football to them is kicking the ball around the field. You don't touch it with your hands. And so, I don't understand how that got voted in, to tell you the truth.
I mean, I'll watch it. I'll watch it. I don't think NFL teams are going to want their players to participate because of injury concerns and money and all that. But it's opening up on U.S. soil. So will the U.S. want to be embarrassed? They don't want to be embarrassed, right?
Oh, no,
I mean, so I'm curious. Like you got Joe Burrow the other day says he wants to play. Rob Gronkowski when it first came out says he wants to play. I mean, you got all these dudes that want to play.
Well,
Maybe
I
it'll
don't
be
think.
retired players. I don't
Well,
know, but
I don't think Gronk would be very good.
I think you need speed
You
when
need
it
speed.
comes.
That's what say all these quarterbacks that we got now. You know, you
Hmm.
got Jackson. I mean, on and on. You go like a guy. If Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, I wouldn't want him to be my quarterback in
Mm-mm.
flag football. Not at all.
No, yeah, Lamar would be one.
Oh
With
yeah.
that guy that can scramble and extend the pocket. That's where I don't know what the rules are going to be, but yeah, it's going to be. I'm just trying to fathom what other country would be able to field a team if the U.S. is allowed to use NFL players.
Yeah, and how do you pick NFL players? I mean, just wow! You think of the receiving core you've
I
got.
know.
I mean, I used
Tyreek
to play.
Hill and
We
all
used
that.
to play. I played for many years. Touch football, it's 7-man game. Touch football.
Hmm.
I'm telling you what, it's a fast game
Yeah. Yeah.
when you get to that level of competition.
So something to watch though in the
Yeah,
next few years. How do you follow the Olympics when it comes?
pretty
Because
much.
at
I
the end of
try
the
to.
month
Yeah, I
it's coming
try
up,
to.
and
Yeah,
obviously I think one of my big things I want to follow is how Kenny's going to do this year up in Derek.
yep.
Rice Lake. I know he's back over there too. It'd be sweet to get him a gold.
Oh, it'd be
Got a silver a
wonderful.
few years
Yeah.
ago, but that's kind of what the stuff what are some of the main events you pay attention to? Is it basketball or just
It's basketball and track and field and the swimming. I mean, the swimming gets so much hype every 4 years,
Mhm.
and this Katie Ledecky
Oh gosh.
is just out of this world. You know, she's the female Michael Phelps, is what it amounts to.
Yep.
And so to watch the swimming, and it's so close. You're the world record holder, and then there's somebody that's a second slower. A second is bang,
Mhm.
and they don't get much recognition. I mean, it's such a it's such a fun sport to watch
Mhm.
because they're so close, but yet they're not, because the stars are just that half a second or tenth of a second better.
Mhm.
There are things that some of the other things that I like to watch the swimming itself. I'm not a big fan of the diving, but there's so many different things going on that it's always fun to watch.
Mhm. And it comes really fast too. It
Yeah, it
like goes
does.
by fast.
What
So,
do they say?
but
The opening ceremony. What they can do something special with the opening ceremony. I don't remember exactly what I read or heard or saw, but I think it's going to be kind of a neat Olympics being in Paris.
yeah.
And around Paris, there'll be a lot of things that you got to go a few miles away to take some of those venues. Where they're going to have, when it comes to the United States, the softball, it's L.A., but the softball is going to be in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. So yeah.
The women's softball is
Mhm.
going to be in Oklahoma City.
Are you thinking for the ceremonies it's going to be on boats in a river instead of at a
Yeah, yeah,
stadium?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what it is.
That'll be kind of cool
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
that.
it
So,
will be. That's right. That's what it was.
Giannis is going to be the one carrying the Greece flag. It looks like, and rightfully so. I mean,
Well, you'll be able to see him above the crowd.
you know, he willed that team to their first
Yeah,
Olympics since 2008.
yeah, good
So,
for him. I don't know if his brothers are playing with him or
well,
what.
Thanasis apparently tore his Achilles right after the NBA season. So
Oh no, he won't be playing.
no, I'm not sure how that happened, but
Be
maybe.
interesting to see how far Greece is going to get to go.
Hmm. Yeah, they took down
Yeah.
Luca's team. So. All right, let's take a quick break. We will get back to some more baseball talk coming up here too. So we got receiver defer coming up at about 7:40, 7:45. Join in on the convo. Hit us up with some messages. All right, text us, video stream it, whatever the case may be. Also get your questions in for Jake Boakes, our outdoor tidbits coming up at around 8:30. Be the king of your backyard barbecuing this season. Head on over to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. Grab yourself some brats, a lot of different varieties and flavors to choose from, including their amazing Bloody Mary brats over there. Plus, they've got freeze-dried candy, and if you purchase a bag of the Jolly Rancher ones, or as they apparently like to call it, Happy Farmers, I found out, portions of $1 per bag goes to Backyard Dreams.
I went over there before I went to Montana on my
Mhm.
bucket list here a few weeks ago, and I bought Bloody Mary brats, and I brought a bunch of those flavored brats out to Montana. I said, well, I'm going to bring a bunch of brats. I said, well, we got Polish sausage. I said, no, these are special brats. And I made them out there. These guys went nuts. I mean, the Bloody Mary brats and the bacon and cheddar brats, and I forgot what flavor I got over there, but wow, were they a hit.
Yes, and I love their beef strips, beef jerky, snack sticks. I mean, they've got new stuff every day putting up in their cases there. So
Yeah, you go in there and you think that you're in meat heaven.
yeah, right. Good, and Sarah and Mike and everybody over there is just awesome, and they're big supporters of Backyard Dreams too. So good people over there, that's for sure. All right, the Badger basketball team has another. Bringing back another alum to help out their program. It was announced yesterday. Greg Steensma is coming back to the Badgers in a new role as Director of Player Development. Now, Greg Steensma has actually been in the NBA the last few years in a similar role, both with the Timberwolves and most recently with the San Antonio Spurs. Was actually working a little bit with Victor Wembanyama last year, but he's coming over to join up with the Badgers in this new role here. Not exactly, what the whole job description is going to be, but I think again it's another example in the college sports landscape of teams and programs trying to be creative and trying to utilize every advantage they can to. I mean, let's face it, Wisconsin's in, with the NIL and transfer and all this stuff, you got to find different ways to be competitive, right? And to improve your rosters.
Yeah, and Wisconsin is really in, I don't know, kind of like a limbo situation because it is, but it isn't a high profile program. They've had success, continued success, but never gotten that over the hump, consistent national success.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can't take away from what they've done, making the tournament and playing playing above their status, so to speak. But the challenges only get bigger now because of the situation. If you're Duke, you're always going to be there. Schools have so much money that they can buy their way to success. Wisconsin can't do that. They've got to nose to the grindstone, still have to work hard. And I think we all remember Greg Steensma from when he was a high school player at Randolph in the state tournament, then played for the Badgers, and he was with the Boston Celtics, played and had a nice basketball career. And hopefully he can bring some of what he's learned over the years back in and help the Badgers. And I'm not sure what exactly that job is structured to do, but bringing him back can't hurt. Hopefully he'll have creative ways to bring in and keep talent. That's the challenge. Bring them in. One thing, keeping them is another thing.
Well, you're exactly right. And, it's like he said too yesterday, college sports now it's pretty much like pro sports a little bit. So, it's.
But they don't sign contracts so they can leave anytime they want. That's one thing about the pros. You got a contract, you've still got another year. But Chucky Hepburn is a good example. He wasn't going any place, but all of a sudden, the alumni, as you have said, not the coach, the alumni, we'll give you this much money, come to Louisville. Okay, and the coach didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's hard. I hate to say this, but sometimes it's hard to kind of be a fan.
It is. It's getting harder and harder, especially because the cost to be a fan is not getting any cheaper dollar-wise. And emotionally, it's kind of a role. If you're, and we're fans of Badgers, Packers, but the Badgers in a college level now, it's hard. It's emotionally draining because you think everybody got excited to bring Luke Fickell in for a new coach, and all of a sudden the NIL goes nuts. Transfer portal goes nuts. How good a coach is he? Do you have to be a good coach or do you have to be a good recruiter not only for players, but for fan support, for money support. You got to go out and get those guys. How much is this going to take away from their ability to coach their teams?
Mm-hmm.
And how much more staff does this require? I got to have an NIL core, and like the pro football teams have to have these guys that know how to manage the salary cap.
Yeah.
Now you got to do the same thing with NIL. Here's so much money we got. Who do we give it to? And how much of each do we give? Obviously Chucky Hepburn was making money at Wisconsin, but he's making a whole lot more down at Louisville. Obviously, he wouldn't have left.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's a different world, and fans, we're still going to support them and go to the games, but there's going to be more, and you hear it all the time, more and more questioning of, do I want to keep my season tickets? Is this, and it's tough. It's not only tough, it's tough to be a fan nowadays. It really is, of college sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it just so much movement. It kind of almost reminds me a little bit of the NBA with so much movement with players and going to different teams and all that sort of stuff.
But like we said, at least in the NBA, it's kind of coordinated. It's kind of scheduled. College football, it's Wild West.
Yeah.
Or college sports, it's Wild West. I mean, even baseball, when I was watching the College World Series, they were talking about this guy transferred from here and they had a great shortstop prospect, but then he went someplace else before he started playing. It's the Wild West in college sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's trickled down even to past college sports.
And now we're getting into high school, NIL in high school.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
that to me is over the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's definitely way different than it was maybe just even 5-10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Good Lord. So, but training camp for, believe it or not, though, a week and a half. Packers open up.
We're into July.
July 22nd is the first day of practice, man. Can you believe that? It's going to be football season. Hard to believe. Because I believe Badger football is going to be at Platteville again at the end of the month.
Oh, is it?
Let me see if I can find that.
Well, the Bears used to be there, so they must have a pretty good facility for.
Well, they did it last year for the first year.
Yeah.
I think they're doing it again this year. I'll double check and see if I can find something.
Well, they want to have that camp where they're kind of isolated. I remember they used to years ago go to in Madison, go out to the seminary, the Catholic seminary, but that was when that was out of town and you didn't know where it was. And now right in the middle of Madison, pretty much, it's surrounded by humanity. And you can't do it there because there's no isolation there. So maybe going to Platteville, and I don't know what kind of facilities you've got down there, but maybe going to Platteville, they can keep them focused, so to speak. And let's face it, there are not many things to do in Platteville as there in Madison for the players afterwards, so they can keep their focus on football.
So yes, they will be back. Badgers will be in Platteville from July 29th to August 12th. For closed practices, meetings, meals, and other team bonding experiences. The team will hold one open practice to the public on Saturday, August 10th. Got to buy a ticket, though, $5 per person. 12 years and younger are free. But the little write-up here, the Badgers will take advantage of some of the premier NCAA Division III facilities in the country. UW Platteville's Ralph E. Davis Pioneer Stadium served as the summer training camp for the Bears. For 18 years, 84 to 01, the stadium has a capacity of 10,000 and features a pro grass infill surface, 25-foot wide Daktronics video scoreboard, new lockers installed in 2019, and a 90-person press box. And the field house was expanded in 2019 by 55,925 square feet.
You got your request in to get on there and cover this intensely and do the program from down there and a press box and all that?
Not for a practice. It's not Packers practice, man. It's not preseason football.
Well, I just thought you get all of Twitter, no matter what it is, summer football.
I do. Maybe I could. I didn't even think of that. But maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But obviously Platteville too's got a lot of Badger connections with obviously Bo Ryan, Jeff Guards over there now too.
Yeah, he's from Cobb, which is a little town just not too far out of Platteville.
Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of that connection between those two programs. So
but it sounds like they've got quite a facility down there.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt about it.
Well, and again, competitive wise, and taking a 180-degree turn here, but you list just the facility you described and what the University of Eau Claire has. I mean, Carson Park is a great stadium in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but we're in the modern world now, and Platteville has gone into it.
Yeah. All right. You want to do an extended receiver defer?
You
We got a
want
couple
to?
weeks worth. We didn't do it last week.
Yeah, that's right. You were gone on vacation.
Well, it was also the 4th on last Thursday.
Well, that's right.
So.
The 4th of July on last Thursday. Yeah, we were gone.
So we got a couple weeks worth coming up here.
Yeah, we do.
Last call for any questions for Mr. Jake Bolks, too. Our DNR warden buddy. Hit us up with the text 715-830-1912 and that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. No questions, a stupid question. So this is your chance to ask Jake any questions. Maybe getting ready for hunting season in a couple months, or still with fishing season going on here too. So hit us up with those questions via the texting line.
One thing they've always had up at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair too is a DNR building, and I haven't been in it, so I think it's still there, but it's always neat because they've got a lot of, if you got questions too that you don't get to Jake, they've got, DNR people and outdoor conservation people that are there manning exhibits and explanation of what Wisconsin rules and laws and what our outdoors in Wisconsin is all about. So if you get to the fair, look for that building over by just next to the Leinenkugel's facility where they have bands and beer and things like that up above. So it's always been a neat building to go into.
Absolutely. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll have a little receiver defer to finish up the second hour coming up in just a few minutes. Doubleheader for the Eau Claire Express today. First pitch for the first game against the Duluth Huskies is going to be 11:05 at Carson Park. So if you want to do a little lunch at the ballpark, or maybe your boss will let you work from the ballpark today,
Wouldn't that be nice?
right? I gotta see if they'll let me bring my laptop and sit in the fan deck and watch the game today or something like that. So
I wouldn't know why they wouldn't.
But doubleheader today as they take on the Duluth Huskies.
Take your sombrero out there because we're going to have some sunshine today. Baseball weather. As Earl Ernie Banks said, a good day to play too.
Exactly. And I know they've been hit with a lot of rain delays and postponed games, so get out there and support the Express and get to the games today and tonight too. So all right, time for a little receive or defer. What do you got there, big boy? We'll let you lead off like we usually do here.
All right. Receive or defer. At this point in time, you're more concerned about the Brewers pitching than either the offense or the defense.
Receive.
Yeah, I think so too. The arm, I mean, last night was a wonderful contribution.
They needed it too. I think that bullpen is just, and they've held up, but I think they're getting a little worn out right now.
I think they are, but I just hope the pitching does hold up. Receiver defer. Bryce Terang is the Brewers MVP so far this season.
I'll defer that, but I think
there are a lot of names in the hat, but boy, he's got to be right in there.
Mm-hmm. Contreras probably was the first half, but Yelly's playing incredibly well right now too. So it's a good problem to have when you could throw a few names out there.
Yeah, that's for sure. And also, based on, I guess, some of that conversation, receiver defer, the Brewers will not be active at the trade deadline.
I think they're going to at least get one more pitcher. I don't know if it'll be a bullpen or a starter, but I know they got a couple arms already.
Keuchel,
I don't think he's a lock.
He's kind of shaky, right?
Yeah. And then we'll see Aaron today. But the thing is, too, like when they get all their guys healthy, bullpen-wise, a lot of those guys that were getting starts, like a Bryce Wilson, who was getting stretched out to be a starter, he's back in the pen. You got guys in the pen that can give you a couple innings.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just like one inning type of guys. Wilson, Koenig, if Joe Ross comes back, do they put him in the pen? He's a guy that can give you a couple innings. Hudson's shown that he can go out there for a couple innings. So I maybe this is kind of another reference to Pat Murphy being a little bit more old school, but after Monday night's or Tuesday night's game, he talked about bullpen where he would rather have traditional setups. He wants a guy that's a closer, which will be Devin Williams when he comes back at the end of this month. He wants a guy that's typically the eighth inning. He wants a guy that, 6th, 7th. So again, a little bit more of the normal mindset, should we call it? Typical mindset, old school mindset.
But okay, you say old school, but again, you're talking about 6th and 7th. Last night, we got 8 out of a starting pitcher. What is that old school mindset? Is it to go 5 and then have relievers, or get a guy to go 7 or 8, maybe even finish a game, which is unheard of nowadays, pretty much complete games. But
I think it helps when you got Tobias, who just is up there throwing strikes.
Yeah, well, that helps. You throw
low
strikes,
the pitch counts,
right. That puts pressure on the offense. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing, when I asked that, the Brewers will not be active at the trade deadline. I'm hoping they're not in a panic to get a pitcher and give away some of these young guys who are, sure, appear to be on the brink of becoming, I won't say stars, but very, very contributing members of this team or of any team going forward that are going to be in the lineup day in and day out. We got a lot of them right now.
Yeah.
Murphy, to juggle these young kids, it's pretty remarkable what he's done so far.
That, and I think, we go back to, apparently he's empowered his assistants or his coaching staff, more responsibility on them. I mean, we see Chris Hook more now. If you watch games on TV, he's got this notepad. He's up there and he's, I think that's a benefit too, where these guys are, their pitching coaches maybe a little bit more involved with the pitchers.
And one thing I've noticed about watching them on TV, when you're there, you can't see into the dugout so well, but one thing I've noticed about TV, Chris Hook engages Murphy a lot of times before Murphy will engage him.
Yep.
So he's going to Murphy with what he's seeing, or I don't know, maybe, where you going after the game to have a beer.
Right.
But it seems like he's engaging Murphy about whatever he's seeing as a pitching coach. And I think that's good. I think that
open communication.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know, again, it seems like we're kind of knocking counsel, but I mean,
Oh, I'm not knocking
I'm
Cubs.
not.
It's just
No,
a different management style
Yep.
because he was successful.
But I think it's going to be worth noting in the next couple of years to see how the Cubs do compared to how the Brewers do with this new structure. It's going to be talked about, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It'll be analyzed.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And the Cubs don't get off the deck pretty soon, because Dansby Swanson has been a frustrating year for him. Bellinger isn't earning his money. He's playing like the way Yelich was a couple of years ago. He's just not doing it. Ian Happ is doing his job, but they don't have a lot of guys that have been, and they've been in the headlines type of players that came over to the Cubs that are doing headline worthy things. They're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine this is how Cubs fans thought this season was going to go.
I didn't think so either.
No.
I thought, he was going to come in there. He's got a nice lineup. He's got some good pitchers. I was down there the other day when Kyle Hendricks was pitching. He was sailing right along. All of a sudden, the Brewers put up a 7 spot, including a grand slam, and Hendricks was done.
And this is the weird thing, though, too, that factors into the trade deadline. Cubs are 10 back from the Brewers for first, but they're 3.5 back from a wild card spot.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably what they're for. I mean, you focus on that, and then if you get that, then you focus on the division. But at this point in time, I guess that's another receiver to fur. Are the Cubs going to be in a selling or a buying mood when it comes to the trade deadline? Kyle Hendricks, is he, he's making a pretty good paycheck. Is he going to be bait for somebody? Because like I said, everybody, including the Brewers, would like more pitching. And Kyle Hendricks has been good. He's kind of tailed off now from where he was a few years ago, but he's still a major league pitcher and a pretty good one.
I mean, you look at the National League, Washington, who's got the 3rd worst record, but they're 5.5 back from wild card, but apparently they're going to be sellers. But they're going to be sellers, and they're just 5.5 back from a wild card spot.
Well, they got a tradition like the Marlins of being sellers. They won the World Series, and they sold off that old team.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of – I mean, the Mets are just a half game out from a wild card spot, which seemed just a couple months ago that wasn't going to be the case. So, Cincinnati's just 3.5 back. So, it's kind of American League's a little bit for – I mean, you got a team like Toronto who's 8.5 back from a wild card spot. But, yeah, it's – that I'll be curious to see how many – especially National League teams are going to be sellers. Will they look at this and be like, hey, we still got a shot to get in? Because I think it's fair to say Atlanta's probably going to get the top wild card spot, or at least a wild card spot. I know Ronald Acuna Jr. is hurting that, but right now the Cardinals have the second one. They're 48-44, just 4 games over 500.
Yeah, and as you look at that, are these teams like the Cardinals, like the Cubs, are they looking at, well, we don't really think the Brewers can hold on, so we're going to go for it, rather than say, well, we're giving up on the season and going to get rid of Goldschmidt or whatever the Cardinals might do. So it'll be interesting to see what their mindset is at the trade deadline. I think that'll go a long way to telling you in that division what they think of the Brewers holding up for the whole season. It's been a great 3 months here, through this part of July to be 5.5 games ahead. And do the teams think that they can hold on, or are they going to say, we're going to go for it and we're going to put some real pressure on the Brewers? So it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. John has a receiver defer for us. A couple of them actually. Receiver defer, since we're talking about pitching. Pitching in Major League Baseball is starting to look like the running backs of the NFL when they reach a certain age.
It's a good way to put it. Very well done. Yeah, that's because you look at, Scherzer is a guy that a lot of people are talking about. He's going to be moved. Do you want him? I mean, he's not like CC Sabathia was when the Brewers got him.
No.
I don't think Scherzer, he can eat a few innings, but by the time he gets done in the 5th or the 6th inning, is he going to be giving up 5 or 6 runs as well?
Right.
So
it's going to be 40 this month.
Yeah, and he hasn't pitched much this year, but still in all, he's going to be 40, and he's a lot of pitches on that arm, and that's a good point. It's kind of like the running backs are being we saw the starting pitcher contracts gone in the tank over the last few years. The relievers are getting it all. So yeah, that's a good point.
Apparently, I just saw this. This was from overnight or last night. He's not even going to waive his no trade to leave Texas. So he doesn't want to leave apparently. But That also could be, okay, so and so is interested in you. Then it might, that could change easily.
Yeah, if he's going to go to the
Yeah.
Dodgers or
Yeah.
who knows where,
Mhm.
and well, maybe if you leave, we'll give you an extra $5 million. There are a lot of things, variables in this whole scenario. Where it's going to go, I don't know, but I'm keeping my eye on the Central and the National League Central for the teams like the Cardinals and even the Cubs, 3.5 out of the wild card. Do they believe the Brewers have the strength to keep this going for the whole year, or we're going to make some moves and put some real pressure on them?
The second part of John's is also, does Major League Baseball need to make pitching important again and have these pitchers last longer than 4 to 5 innings?
How are they going to do that?
No.
I mean, that wonderful conversation piece, but are they going to raise the mound again? Make the pitchers, that much more of an advantage of the pitchers, raise the mound. I don't know what they're going to do.
I can't remember which game.
Expand the strike zone. They're not going to do that.
No. I can't remember which game it was that Hudson was watching, but John Smoltz was talking about, he threw out a scenario like, are we going to see a trend? I think we've kind of seen it off and on, but I think he's referring to it on a consistent basis. But John Smoltz said, are we going to see teams now hyper focus on those quote unquote super relievers, he called them, relievers that will go out there for 3 or 4 innings. And I know, like, was it Andrew Miller with Cleveland in that Cleveland and Cubs World Series where, he came in for a few innings and such, and then we didn't get to see, he kind of flamed out after that. But Smoltz was even talking about, are we going to see teams now kind of focus on maybe not starting pitching, but those super relievers coming in? Possibly.
Yeah, and the Brewers have done that. Councils and done that. You start a guy pitches 1 inning, then you bring a guy in for 3.
Murphy's done it this year.
Yeah, Murphy's done it this year too. I don't know. What the mindset's going to be. What will the metrics tell us? Because they've changed the game with the numbers. And there's no reason they couldn't be thinking that way.
Yeah, I agree. Did you have one more before I?
No, I think I've got mine in.
Okay. Receiver defer, Tiger made the right choice to not be the 2025 Ryder Cup captain.
Oh, boy. I didn't know he was in there. I know Keegan Bradley got it. But...
Yep. You want me to read Tiger Woods' reason why he declined it?
Yeah, because there's been things spinning around in my mind, but if he did explain a little bit.
So let me bring it up. This is from a couple days ago, his statement here, if it's going to load for me here. But essentially, it's he said that he is going to focus on his new duties with the PGA. Here we go. With my new responsibilities to the tour and time commitments involved, I felt like I would not be able to commit the time to Team USA and the players required as captain. That does not mean I wouldn't want to captain a team in the future. If and when I feel it is the right time, I will put my hat in the ring for this committee to decide.
I think eventually, maybe when he's completely done as a competitor, he'll probably do it. But he thinks he can still play, and we all hope he can still play. He hasn't proven that yet, but hopefully it'll be that way. But this Ryder Cup thing is so different now with this Live Tour.
That's my next one. Has it lost its luster a little bit?
It has for me, because it's not like you've got a unified United States team,
right?
It just I mean,
look at the Olympic team, for crying out loud.
Now one is more American than another. I'm not saying DeChambeau and Koepka and Johnson aren't as American as you and I, but I think you get the feeling that they've kind of and I know Liv plays a lot in the United States, but it just, I don't know. It seems like it's almost like the Civil War, the secession of the states. It's not to that extreme. It's just a game and a sport, and it's all about money. But it doesn't seem like those guys in this last one really bonded as a team. Now, the Europeans seem to have gotten over it. They didn't seem to bother them. But in the United States, it does seem to have divided the players a little bit.
I was just surprised that Keegan Bradley was. I'm like, that dude's my age, for crying out. Like, I figured, like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I thought too he was awful young. I was surprised that he is the Ryder Cup captain.
So, but I think I saw somewhere too, like, he doesn't care about Live or anything like that. He's just going to put the best players out there, which
Yeah, good for him. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the United States team. It's not the PGA team.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wants to do that, I'm all for it, and I'm hoping he can get these guys to bond, to play together, to practice together, and do those sorts of things. It's just, do the live players outside, that structure, that tour, do the live players have as much competitiveness in them as the PGA players? Because they're playing this team golf, they're playing shotgun starts, they're playing in shorts. I mean, it's just a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And is the competitiveness there in the live tour that it is on the PGA tour, where these guys got to go out every week and win to make their money? I mean, live's got their money. They signed all these big contracts ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys on the PGA tour, I'm sure, aren't going to go broke anytime soon, the majority of them. But for some, it's a struggle to go from tournament to tournament. Well, you're going to get in the PGA tournament. You're going to get in one of the satellite tour tournaments this week. There's a lot more unknowns with the PGA tour players. So I just think if he can get them to bond together, I think it'll be good.
Yep. Yeah.
Question is, can he?
Well, and maybe if it goes south and there's not, maybe that's what Tiger can do whenever it comes up next, and he's a captain. He can kind of reinvigorate that a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was just surprised Keegan Bradley. I thought there were others out there.
Yeah. All right, 2 in, 1 more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Final hour on this Thursday morning, and final call, last call for your questions for our outdoor tidbits with DNR Warden, Mr. Jake Bulks. Hit us up the text with those questions right now. This is your final call, 715-830-1912, 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We'll catch up with Jake coming up at the bottom of the hour. Brewers got a day game today. First pitch for the Crew as they try to win this series against the Pirates at 1:10. Paul Skeens, the rookie sensation for the Pirates, is going to be on the mound for them. Aaron Savali is going to be on the mound for the Crew. Second start since being acquired in a trade with the Tampa Bay Rays. So Brewers will try to win this series, and then they welcome the Washington Nationals to Milwaukee for a 3-game series starting tomorrow before the All-Star break that starts on Monday. So we'll get back to some more baseball talk coming up here in just a few minutes here. We had a little fun in the first hour. If you're just joining us, we're talking a little bit about Sal Frelick and Bryce Terang and kind of looking for like who do they kind of remind you of maybe some players in the past with how they kind of, their style of play and such, but who do they kind of remind you of? Obviously, Jim Ganter was a very popular pick for Bryce Terang. We had a few Dustin Pedroias out there for Bryce Terang. Kind of quiet a little bit on the Sal Frelick front. So who do they kind of remind you of? Give us some suggestions. Hit us up with a quick text over there. So this is just kind of it's the NFL offseason, so not a lot's going on here. But CBS Sports, this is kind of, I was going to bring it up in receiver defer here, so I might as well do it now. But receiver defer, CBS Sports ranked their NFL coaches. Matt LaFleur, number 5. Receiver defer, Matt LaFleur is a top 5 coach right now in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he proved his mettle last year. I think he, when he brought Jordan Love in and when they got on the same page, it was a different team the last half of that season. I think he's definitely on the rise. He's got the arrow going and pointing in the right direction, unlike some coaches.
Their little write-up, critics dinged his Sterling record early on simply because he had MVP-level Aaron Rodgers at his disposal, but then LaFleur went and nearly guided Jordan Love and a group of young receivers to the NFC title game in 2023. He could stand to shore up the defensive staffing, sure, and maybe even get more aggressive on the big stage. There's little to critique about the ways he deploys his versatile skill weapons, however, and it might not be long before he's actually back in the Super Bowl conversation. The 4 coaches ranked higher than him: Harbaugh at number 4, John Harbaugh. Number 3, Kyle Shanahan. Number 2, Sean McVay. And number 1, Andy Reid.
Yeah, Andy Reid's going to be hard to knock off that.
I feel like Andy Reid, ever since with the Chiefs, I mean,
boy. In Philadelphia, he did a nice job.
He did a nice job.
And I think sorry that they let him go.
I think he easily has solidified his Hall of Fame resume with the Chiefs, though. I mean, it's like he's taking it to the next level right now.
Yeah, there's no question. And that's going to, speaking of the Chiefs, and I'm sure you've read this and saw this, that there's a group from Kansas City, Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Wants to build that stadium out there because it's part of Kansas City, but it's just in Kansas. And I know there's a big Kansas Super Speedway is right there on the border of Kansas City. So they got a lot of room to grow out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, whether or not the Kansas City council or whoever steps up to the plate. Because the facilities they got now are, well, they're okay, but they're very vanilla.
We talk about how weird it is when players switch jerseys, like Tom Brady playing for the Bucs or Jordan with the Wizards and that. I think the Chiefs playing outside of Kansas City would probably be the weirdest one. We've seen teams.
But they'd be in Kansas City. It's just Kansas City, Kansas.
Right. Okay. So okay. Still would be good. So it would, but not playing an Arrowhead would be weird.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't be at Arrowhead. Yeah, no, this would be
that would be the weird part.
But if I'm the Chiefs, I'm striking when the iron's hot. They're going to be in the talk of the Super Bowl for the next few years. When Mahomes is gone, Kelsey's gone, some of these guys are gone. You don't have as much ammunition to fire with. And boy, this is a time where, because Arrowhead is a nice stadium, but boy, they could do. I mean, you look at what they did in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium, what the Raiders are doing in Las Vegas,
what Jacksonville's apparently going to do with theirs.
Yeah, exactly. In Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So there's pressure on Kansas City right now, and it's going to be fun to follow what they're going to do.
But well, Chicago's getting a dome too. So
yeah, Kansas City, Kansas is pulling out all the stops. They want the Chiefs in Kansas, even though it's still Kansas City.
I will say, Kansas City, if they do get a new, don't build the dome. Don't build a dome for Kansas City, for the Chiefs.
No, they probably.
Although
and football,
I don't know,
outdoor football is different than outdoor baseball.
Well, it's all about whether they can get a Super Bowl now, all these other events. So, I mean, Chicago, now if they're going to have a dome, they're going to be able to host a Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so there's that, all those Final Fours and all that. So,
and Kansas City is a convention town.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to factor that into it, more money that way. It's like Lambeau Field. What are they doing? They finally got approval to build a third locker room so they can have other events coming over, like the soccer matches and that.
Yeah.
Because they were using temporary, locker rooms and that. But now they're building a third one so they can draw, more events over there. They ain't building a dome over Lambeau, so got to figure out different ways to do that.
That's
so
for sure.
It was actually the anniversary yesterday. It was like a headline in the paper. I had a quick nugget about it because I just saw it at the end there, but there was a write-up in 2000 that the Packers were going to have naming rights to Lambeau Field.
I had heard that.
And then obviously with the tax referendum, it got passed and all that. But what if that would have happened? Who would have gotten the first naming rights to Lambeau Field? Because under that, it said,
how much would it have cost? I mean, I think naming rights to Lambeau, one of the most lucrative dollar programs you could ever have.
Yeah, because I'm reading the headline right now. Lambeau Field could get new corporate name by 2003. And then there was another headline under Coca-Cola isn't interested in stadium naming rights deal. So it wasn't going to be them apparently, but I'm sure other people would have lined up for that.
How much do you think? I don't know how much these other places, every stadium pretty much is named, AmFam Field, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But how much would it cost? I mean, Yankee Stadium is still Yankee Stadium. Lambeau Field is Lambeau Field. In Boston is still Fenway Park. Some of these iconic stadiums, I don't know if they'll ever be named. I would hope not. But, the newer stadiums, yeah, big deal. You don't have any tradition there yet, so don't worry about it. But how much to name Yankee Stadium or Lambeau Field, those two stadiums alone? Fenway Park, I think, would be expensive, but not in the realm of Yankee Stadium or Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
I can't either. I don't know.
Can't even imagine. And I know people are probably going to think of, the usual suspects in Wisconsin, but
I don't know if the usual. I mean, I'm thinking maybe I'm way out of the ballpark, and you guys let me know if I am. But I'm thinking this is with a B, and it's a crooked number in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't going to be a $400 million naming right. This is going to be with a B and with a crooked number before that too. I just think that would be unbelievable amount of money to name that stadium.
So essentially, you're thinking a non-Wisconsin company could come in and
to afford
it. Yeah. I don't know. I can't even imagine.
It's not going to be Johnsonville Brat Stadium. I'll tell you that.
No. I mean, again, I know there's still people upset that it's not Miller Park anymore because it fit, but I mean, it was money talks, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's money talks.
Well, you look at Miller, and the history is Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in control of Milwaukee anymore.
Right.
American Family Insurance is a Wisconsin company. There's still,
the golf tournament for crying out loud.
Yeah, I don't know what their ownership. I assume they're still in Wisconsin as far as owned. I know Madison, different things, but I don't know. But I just think the name Lambeau Field or Yankee Stadium, you got to be. I mean, you're talking about Microsoft. You're talking about Amazon. You're talking about some big dollars,
mm-hmm.
and I think, like I said, I don't know many companies in Wisconsin that could afford it.
Right.
Menards Stadium at Lambeau Field or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I think John could probably afford it, but he's into racing, and which is fine. He loves racing and he supported racing, which is good. But it's going to take some people that have that kind of money.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's not maybe with the lawsuit they may have to sell naming rights to pay their fair share of the whole Sunday ticket lawsuit sort of thing, where each team apparently has to fork over $440 million if it goes through. But I joked about it. Get ready for a stock sale coming to pay for that.
I never thought of that. That's a good point.
They probably have a stock sale if they get to that.
They got to limit the stock sale because their annual meeting, they can't fit everybody in there pretty soon.
I know, right? It's which is also coming up in a week and a half.
Is it really? Oh boy,
yeah, that first day of training camp.
Yeah. Oh golly. So, but it's interesting how it came up, and then how it's died, and it hasn't really been brought up in the last decade or something like that. But because the Packers don't need the money, Packers have a pretty.
That Titletown district's making them some money.
Yeah, well, they've got a pretty solid bank account, and I don't think there's any urge. The fans don't want it. I don't think the average fan wants to have that cause anything but Lambeau Field.
No. That's why I'm surprised. I've heard from fans who want a dome over there. That adds to the nostalgia for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yes, would it be more comfortable? Yes, but then I'll stay home.
Well, but you got to have you're a small market team. You're limited in what you can do. Although the Packers, I think, have as much money probably to deal with personnel as any team, and they got the salary cap and everything. But still, it's an advantage. You bring in Tampa Bay, that those guys haven't played in a game under 40 degrees in how long? All of a sudden, you come in here in the middle of December and it's about 10 degrees, a little breeze. That's cold.
That's where I was actually surprised. I can't remember when, but it was a few months ago. We actually had quite a few texters say they wanted a dome over Lambeau, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe it's.
I'm not in that camp.
I'm not. Yeah. If I want to be comfortable, I have to stay home and watch a game. But I that adds to it for me.
But the thing is, you go to Lambeau Field now, and you've been around there. These club seats and boxes. There are a lot of seats at Lambeau Field that are pretty warm. It's like watching from home. And even if you go out and buy some of those seats and you go stand on the decks and watch the game, there are some heaters blowing there. It can be a cold environment. Don't get me wrong, but there are ways to deal with it.
Yeah, and I'm just prepare yourself for it. Don't be like Kansas City where you're wearing no shirt, getting frostbite after a playoff game.
You're always going to have a few of those guys.
Oh yeah, that's a tradition. It happens in Green Bay too.
Oh, absolutely.
That'll never stop.
Who's the dumbest guy in the park? There he is, right there, no shirt on.
And they're usually the one leading the whole chants and all that too. So they're the one getting everybody pumped up.
They are. But I just think it's interesting, some of this talk. Kansas City, they need a new stadium. They deserve a new stadium.
Do you think they deserve a new one? Have you been to Arrowhead before?
Yeah.
You have been there? Okay.
And it's a nice stadium, and it's not really all that old. I mean, they sit side by side, the baseball and the football. They use the same parking lot. I mean, you just go across a plaza to go from one to the other, and they're down in kind of a valley all by themselves out on the edge of town, and they're nice stadiums.
Because I've heard because they're next to with tailgating, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's
nice
all right
for
there. It's all right there. Yeah, and but it's not like Lambeau, Wrigley Field. They're.
Well, I know the players have really criticized the locker rooms over there, like the infrastructure inside, stuff that we can't see in Kansas City.
That I don't. I've never been in a locker room, but but I think
players don't like it.
They deserve a new stadium, and there are people willing to step up and finance a new stadium. Go for it.
Because it was when they started that report card a couple of years ago, that players and with that, and Kansas City has always got, I shouldn't say always, but the last couple of years they've gotten some really low marks when it comes to their stadium from the players.
Oh yeah.
And it was after not this one Super Bowl, the one before, players criticized the locker rooms, and apparently they were told that they were going to get some new stuff. All they got was new chairs in the locker room. So I don't, but that's
Quite
been
an
one.
upgrade.
Yeah, that's one of the report cards where I think they've gotten an F is the locker rooms from the players there. So,
and the thing is, going from Kansas City where they're at to Kansas City, Kansas, if indeed that works out. I mean, it's not like, okay, we're gonna build a new Lambeau Field, but we're gonna build it in Neenah. It's their Appleton. That's not gonna happen.
Schwabenon, well, it actually isn't a Schwabenon.
That's they're suburb of Green Bay there, but they're in the city. I mean, that city. I mean, you walk a block and you're in somebody's yard. Well, in Kansas City, a lot of these stadiums, you're not there. I mean, you look at Wrigley Field, you look at even St. Louis, their ballpark. I mean, when you're in the city, you got such an atmosphere. In Yankee Stadium, when I went to Yankee Stadium, you got its own little village. You got little shops and little restaurants and souvenir places, and they're all kind of within the ballpark region right there. I mean, walking distance. You're not in a parking lot where you tailgate and there's nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you tailgate at Green Bay, but you can still go to the local bars that are right there. It means a whole lot more to be part of the community than just a stadium in the city. It's on the edge of town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was their report card. Locker room F. The good news is that after many years, the team finally provided actual chairs for players to use at their lockers. The issue, however, is that the players feel that the team promised them much more. The original plan was for the team to do a full renovation of the locker room after the 2022 season. However, the team never followed through with that promise. And actually, I mean, when you look at Chiefs, they wanted their ownership got the worst grade, F minus. Club owner Clark Hunt received a rating of a 4.9 out of 10 from Chiefs players when considering his willingness to invest in the facilities.
Kansas City is basically compared to a small market, medium market at best, and so they've got, they don't have a title town area around there for more revenue. Green Bay has been, very visionary as far as doing this. Kansas City has not. If you've ever been around there, it's not far from the Truman Library, but that's in town, and then it's a residential area, but it's not a community like you have around Green Bay or around Wrigley Field or around Yankee Stadium. I'm not sure about Boston. I've never been to Fenway Park, where I know that sits in the city. I've seen it and been there, but the infrastructure around it, and in Baltimore, they built that stadium right down on the harbor down there, so there's a lot around there. You want to be part of a community with these stadiums rather than just drive out on the interstate, park in a big parking lot, and go to the game and then go home.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more revenue to be made by the teams in the local community if you have the right kind of planning.
I always get a kick out of the report cards that come out because it puts teams on. Kansas City, who's been a dynasty. I mean, average grades 31 out of 32 overall. The players, these are voted by the players. They got 1A.
Well, that
1A plus.
Yeah,
1A overall.
What's that for?
Head coach.
There you go. But I think that shows you the difference between management of the corporation of the Kansas City Chiefs, just because we're talking about them and I'm picking on them, and the management of the football team. The corporation is one thing, the football team is another. And how visionary these Hunts might be, Clark Hunt, Lamar started the AFC, but really and truly, it's not a cutting edge franchise.
Mm-hmm.
They, on the football side, they drafted well. They drafted Mahomes, and they saw that he's going to play, and they played him, and it's paid off. So on the football side, obviously they get that A+. But on the management side, we're going to upgrade the locker room, and we're going to bring in new chairs. There's not a lot of, I hope they didn't have a lot of planning sessions to go ahead and decide how we're going to improve the stadium, and we're going to give the players new chairs.
Do you want to know what the big difference was with the chairs? Apparently, they had backs on them.
So in other words, they just had little benches.
Mm-hmm. Or stools, probably. Yeah.
So there's the difference between the football side and the business side. And Green Bay has always been pretty visionary now with Titletown, and it'll be interesting if they put a dome around Soldier Field. That's down on the lakefront. And
Well, they're building that new stadium in
that's
Chicago.
true. That's
so,
true. Have they picked a site for that yet?
I believe, yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that plays into the environment of Chicago. But they're going to put a dome on that.
Yep, new stadium on Chicago's lakefront just south of Soldier Field. Stadium will be a part of a year-round hub that includes a redesigned museum campus, public parks, and rec space. I think the biggest thing that people question there is like there's no parking.
Yeah.
And when you look at the design, it's like, yeah, where are they supposed to park?
Yeah, I've got some relatives that have Chicago Bear season tickets, and they have to park downtown and shuttle out.
Mm-hmm.
They actually tailgate downtown, nowhere near the stadium, downtown, and then they have to take buses.
Jeez, makes me appreciate Green Bay a little bit more too.
Absolutely,
So.
No, Lambeau is a really unique environment.
Mm-hmm. Not many other places you can literally tailgate in somebody's stranger's yard and be
and you look at going to the Twin Cities, their stadium.
Well, I remember Metrodome when I went there for Favre's when he broke the touchdown pass record. We were tailgating some empty lot. There was nobody in there. And then we were getting ridiculed from Vikings fans for tailgating. They're driving by and just giving us. I'm like, is this not what you're supposed to do? I mean, it was just kind of weird. You know,
they're not. It's not in their culture to do it the way we do it here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And I've never been to a University of Minnesota game, how their pregame festivities, be whatever what they are, compared to like in Madison to the Badger pregame festivities. So I can't evaluate that. But I know the Vikings don't have it. That's why there's more every time the Packers play the Vikings in Green Bay. Viking fans come to Green Bay because they said the stadium is more fun.
Or you mean Green Bay going to Minnesota?
Versus the other way.
Yeah.
Viking fans come here.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. Okay.
Come to Green Bay, not only for the game, but for the fun environment. Going to the bars, tailgating, this, that, and the other thing. I don't know if Packer fans go to Minneapolis just to go to the game, not for the surrounding environment.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. We may not have, I haven't heard from Jake yet, so he might be a little busy here this morning. So we'll see if we can get a hold of him, or maybe we'll push it to next week and such. So, but we got to take a quick break anyways. So we'll do that. We'll get back to some more baseball talk. Brewers looking for another series win later this afternoon, although Paul Skeens stands in their way. That's something new we want to do on Thursday. So if you got a little Throwback Thursday nominations, hit us up with an email. All that info is at sportstalk1051.com. Just click on the Fan Cave tab. So if anybody has like any old photos of Bob playing Little League Baseball or something like that, that counts as Throwback Thursday.
I got a bunch of them.
All right, we will feature one then. So send those.
All I gotta do is find them.
Send those on over, and we'll feature you every Thursday for a little Throwback Thursday action. No Jake today, no outdoor tidbits. So we'll get to your questions for next week there. But
you got questions? Go to the fair and go to the DNR building and ask them.
That too, exactly. So are they doing the bikes still with the kiddos when you first walk in the state patrol? With the bike, I thought I saw that on Facebook.
I didn't go
there
in
too.
That gate.
You got the private entry. That's right.
No, I turned down to the rural area before I go into the, the main area where everybody else goes. So
Philly fan Dave, if you're listening, let me know if they're still doing the bikes. I know they do the state patrol right when you walk in the main gate. They do that once in a while. So
they don't have the helicopter rides. You used to have a helicopter you could pay for a rider. I didn't see that yet this year. I don't know if that's coming or not.
Gotcha. This was a question. I kind of like it. Let's see if we can get some good text on this one. But this was from Wildy and Tausch, the radio show in Milwaukee. But they said, who is the Michael Jordan of Wisconsin sports? So I don't know. I guess you could go about it different ways, like talent-wise or maybe like fanfare-wise. I mean, I guess you could go about it different ways, right? How you view that. Like Michael Jordan, like in terms of likability, or like you put him on them like
a goat,
like, but like athletic ability.
Who's the goat of Wisconsin sport now?
So like I would say
Wisconsin natives or anybody that's played in Wisconsin.
So like, because I could see it where a lot of people would pick Bart Starr, but was he the best quarterback? Not necessarily. Talent wise, maybe. Not talent wise. So that's where I'm kind of.
He won more world championships than any other Green Bay quarterback.
He did. Yep, he absolutely did. So, who is your Michael Jordan? Think about that for a little bit.
Yeah,
people
text me think about that.
Text me or text us 715-830-1912. I'll tell you what, Hank Aaron's a good one.
Yeah. I'm going back in time. Warren Spahn, 363 wins, and
that's a good one.
I'm going back in time. Kareem played here.
We're just going to limit this to players, right?
Kareem,
you're going to go Kareem? No. Or some people, when I say it, Kareem, and talk about the Bucks, they get mad at me because it's Lou Alcindor. I mean, it's the same person, right? They always, Kareem and Lou Al. So
the guy changed his name. He's got every right to change his name.
Mm-hmm.
There are women. Do you yell at women because they don't take their husband's name in marriage? Come on, that's pretty minor.
I've grown a greater appreciate what I was going to say here for, I don't know why, for like Bart Starr and like the older eras. And I don't know if it's because of just the trend of like sports and some of the athletes now, kind of going that, I don't know why, but like lately I've just been reading a lot more, and obviously got to meet him for a hot minute, saying, with you and Boy Scouts dinner a few years ago, right before it was actually right before you had that stroke too.
Mm-hmm.
But, just, I guess maybe the old school, is that the
yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
Guy who
appreciate the I guess, and maybe this isn't the right word, but I'll use it anyway. The purity of the sport. They weren't playing for the contract. They were playing for the love of the game.
Yes.
The love of the community, the love of their teammates, the love of the fans. It's just not that way anymore. And going back to the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Lou Alcindor, who's the greatest boxer of all time?
Muhammad Ali.
Cassius Clay. His name was Cassius Clay.
Mm-hmm.
Worry about something important.
Yeah. I was surprised. I got called out a few times whenever I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Well, no.
I've always known him as Kareem, so.
Absolutely. I mean, you respect the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very deep thinker. I mean, that's what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd say that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became more devoted to his religion than Muhammad Ali did. He had that one inspirational moment when he changed, but for a lifetime, Kareem. He's written books, he's done things. So that to me is pretty petty. Criticizing him for changing his name to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
But going back to for the love of the game, I think you're exactly, because I mean, those guys were working in the offseason at other jobs, car dealership. What, Jerry Kramer owned a bow company, I think, a boat, or invested in a archery company,
construction companies, and they sold cars, they sold insurance, they did a lot of things.
They didn't have the luxury of maybe going on a Egypt vacation and skipping training camp to go do that,
And Fuzzy Thurston is a good example. Like a lot of these guys will have a restaurant named, they have no idea how to run a restaurant, or are they ever in the restaurant. They just use their name. Fuzzy Thurston was at the left guard. You'd see him at the left guard. He was a kind of a hands-on manager, or was, so it's a different world. But I think for the love of the game, Bart Starr, that's a good one. I mean, you can't do any better than him.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you even go a little bit earlier. I mean, I think Don Hudson had the bowling alley in Green Bay. Yeah. While in Green Bay, Hudson opened the Placker Palladium bowling alley. And then, he had the dealership in Racine, I think in Lacrosse too, or that might have been his brother or cousin or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, they had to, because they weren't making that much money playing
exactly.
football.
That's where I think I appreciate that more.
That's why they lived in the neighborhood. Bart Starr was my dad's neighbor, because they weren't making multi-million-dollar contracts where they could go build a house out in the woods on 80 acres or 100 acres and be away from everybody else. They were part of the community.
I think I'm going to see if I can find it quick, but this was a couple of years ago where I think it was like Packers News or the Green Bay Press Gazette did a story like where like Lombardi's Packers lived. Yeah, here it is, where they lived. And you look at the buildings now, it's like, what? And one of them was actually, I don't know if it was Willie Davis or maybe it was Dave Robinson. Regardless, they live in one of the apartment buildings that is, if anybody's gone to a Packer game, you've seen this apartment building. It's right next to the Don Hudson Center, but they got like the flags draped outside. One of the Packers lived there. Yeah, it's right here. Oneida Street. Willie Wood lived there. Willie Wood. And you look at it, that's a tailgate place now, but that's where they live. They live in an apartment over there.
Well, there's, and I've talked about this before, right down, if you're familiar with the stadium, and where Kroll's is up above.
Yep.
And right down that road, Blue Haven or whatever it is, about 2 blocks from the stadium. Who was the Packer kicker that I say his name? He picked up
Chester Markle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chester Markle, a friend of mine, a fellow farm broadcaster, Pam Yankee, used to work here. She bought that house that belonged to Chester Markle, and she now calls it Pamble. And it's a fun place to go. But I saw him at the golf tournament up in Rice Lake that they have every year up there with a lot of Packer and Viking veterans. And I told him about that. And of course, he's gone through some struggles with substance and things like that, alcohol mainly. And I looked at him sitting in that golf cart, and I thought, this guy couldn't beat Chester Markle, could he? Because they had the names on the golf carts. I said, Chester. He said, yeah. And I said, I just wanted to meet you and shake hands. You provide a lot of thrills. And I said, friend of mine bought your house down on Blue Haven Road above Lambeau Field. Like I said, walking distance to the stadium, probably because he didn't want to drive.
Yeah.
But he just smiled and he says, we had a lot of fun in that house.
Well, remember we had was it when we were talking with Jerry Kramer, and he talked about the part, like they would shut the curtains and doors.
Max McGee and Paul Horning, when they moved in, they shut the drapes. When they moved out after the season, they opened the drapes.
Yep.
He said, Jerry Kramer, he said, I'll never forget some of those stories. I went to one of their parties, and I was gone in about 15 minutes. Well, I knew it wasn't something I wanted to get involved in. He was married.
Yep. Yeah.
But just great stories you don't hear anymore. But they rented that same house from the same lady every year they played in Green Bay.
Yeah. I love that stuff. Yeah. Love those stories.
And Kramer, he said, they'd always invite Lombardi, but he'd never show up.
Can you imagine? Oh, man.
Well, even Vince Lombardi's house
he had the bar downstairs.
Bar downstairs, and people have it right now. And, he used to walked to mass every day or whatever it was.
He was the altar boy every day, or altar.
So these were part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
They still are, but it's a different part of the community now. It was like they were your neighbors. You see them, hey, Joe, hi, Pete, your grocery store. Now, if you see these guys in the grocery store, it's a sighting.
Well, it's like there's that photo, and I'm sure our good friend Muddy Green would know this too with Lombardi, but there's that photo of Lombardi's like at a coffee shop, like a burger joint, just sitting at the counter, having coffee and a burger. That don't happen anymore.
Not anymore, no.
And he's by himself. I mean, that don't happen. I think Muddy Green.
Part of the problem is these guys, in many cases, have such an elevated sense of themselves now. Those guys back then, they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what money does to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think, if we term it the Michael Jordan one, I'm like at that Bart Starr level, like, because I remember when there's just this aura surrounding people too. I remember when he was in Eau Claire and I was in a room because I went to a presser he did, and you were allowed to ask one question. But it was like when he walked in, it was just like that aura changed. That sense, like, this is somebody big, and I still get kind of goosebumps thinking about that.
Big is one word for it, but here is is an icon too strong a word?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
A tradition. I mean, he was a tradition. Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
He really was. And there have been other Packers that when I was doing that Boy Scout banquet that they do every year, the Eagle Scout banquet and the Good Scout thing. I mean, even when a lot of Packers have been, Clay Matthews was there, but the one that I think really I don't know how to put this right, but had a little bit of was Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
He came and he answered. He said, "I want questions from the kids. Otherwise, I was one of those and lady, and it's all in good fun. I'm not criticizing, but boxers or briefs.
Oh, wow.
Those sorts of questions.
Yep.
But the little kids asked really questions that he wanted to answer, and it was fun. So, but Jordy Nelson, if he'd have finished his career in Green Bay, would have had a little different status than and he was forced to leave. He didn't leave on his own, in my mind.
Nope.
And went to the Raiders for a year or two, and kind of the shine went off the bulb, so to speak. But Jordy Nelson had that kind of he was a lot like Bart Starr. Understated, common guy, wanted to be friends. And I just think because they forced him to leave when he wanted to stay and would have done something.
Would have took a pay cut, a huge pay cut, it sounds like.
To stay.
Yeah.
The aura of Jordy Nelson was lost a little bit in the overall view. Not in my view. I think he was one of the greatest Packers ever in a lot of different ways, not just his performance on the field, but off the field and everything else. But he was another guy that came to Eau Claire that I kind of saw as a little bit different.
Yeah, I like that. Speaking of Bart, really quick, we should make a trip to the Rawhide place because they opened up the Bart Starr and Cherry Star Museum over there.
Yeah.
So you can see the Corvette that we've talked about, I know, a few times. The donation at Help Fund Rawhide's over there.
You bet.
Super Bowl rings, memorabilia.
Oh, that's wonderful that his family gave that. That makes it worth a trip.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to go check that out.
You bet.
All right, let's take our final break, and then we'll do some picks and predicts. Will the Brewers win the series today with Paul Skeens on the mound? We'll make that pick and more coming up in just a few minutes. All right, let's do a little picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire this weekend. Best of luck to everybody who's participating in the Elbow Room's golf outing this weekend. So hit them straight, fairways and greens, bunch of birdies. And if you're looking for somewhere to maybe cool off from the heat this weekend, head on over to the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place. Grab yourself some man cave lights and such and take in some of the action over there.
As one caddy, the infamous quote that I'll never forget, and the golfer asked him, "Where should I hit it on this hole?" He said, "Hit it where they mow."
I like that. That's a good one. I like that. Who said that?
Well, when it was happened at the Masters, the guys playing for the first time will always take some of the local caddies.
Mm-hmm.
He got on the first tee, and I forgot who it was, but it was just a classic. I'll never forget it. He looked at his caddy, and the caddies that have been there forever, the traditional caddies. And he said, "No, where's the best place to hit it on this hole?" He said, "Hit it where they mow."
I like that. I like that. Let's do some baseball picks here. Let's start off with let's do Toronto at San Francisco.
I think Toronto. I'm waiting for Toronto to get hot. Vlad Guerrero Jr. hasn't gotten hot yet. They got Bichette. They got some really good players. I'm waiting for them to go on a streak, and maybe they'll do it today.
Dalton making some web gem catches the last couple weeks.
Dalton Varsho is also on that team. I think they've got a nice team, and I don't know what's been their challenge this year that they can't get some traction to get their record improved and get a better look at the playoffs. But I'm taking Toronto.
I am. I'm going to go Toronto in the game as well tonight too. So let's go with Dodgers at Philly. Last night's in the game, the Philadelphia Phillies defeated the Dodgers 4-3. On the mound, we've got Knack and Aaron Nola going for the Phillies.
Phillies are better than I thought they were going to be, and I'm taking the Phillies again.
I'll go Phillies too with Aaron Nola on the mound tonight, so or this afternoon. So I'm gonna go with him. So
Phillies remind me of this current Phillies team reminds me of the Cardinals a few years ago, where they got better pitching than a lot of people thought they were going to get the last couple of years, and the offense is there.
Chicago Cubbies at Baltimore. Justin Steele, though, on the mound for the Cubs.
I don't care if Superman's on the mound. I'm taking Baltimore against the Cubs in Baltimore. Cubs won yesterday, but I don't think they'll do it again.
I'm going to go with Baltimore as well. So, and then let's do Pittsburgh at Milwaukee. Paul Skeens, Aaron Savali. Who do you got in this one?
I got to go with my head more than my heart. I got to take Pittsburgh. I don't think Savali, he's not the answer yet. Maybe he will be, but Skeens has proven that he's a major league pitcher, and until somebody shells him, he's going to be tough.
5-0, 2.12 ERA so far this year. Dude's legit. It's going to be tough. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with my head and go with Pittsburgh this afternoon. That's why I thought last night's game was really important to win.
No, I did too.
To make sure to win that one.
After they got shelled that first game, I thought, man, oh man, with Skeens going to game 3, they can't afford to lose 3 in a row. Not for Pittsburgh.
Don't limp into the All-Star break like we've seen before with the Brewers. So,
and maybe their pitching coaches found a hole in Skeens that they can, take advantage of in the batter's box. But nobody's invincible. But this kid's been pretty good.
Yeah, and maybe this is the game today that he'll be due for a little bit of a hiccup.
Maybe the heat will get to him because I'm sure the roof is going to be open. It's baseball time in Milwaukee. I'll tell you, if you ever go down there, don't sit on the third base side during a day game. Oh my goodness, I about died. And it was the whole game. We had the third base side sitting, I don't know, 10, 15 rows off the field. And we were sitting, it was just perfect for the sun. The sun went down when the last batter came to bat in the 9th inning. Otherwise, it was a toaster.
Yeah.
It was fun. I mean, that's what baseball's all about, but it was hot.
That's right, because which series did you just come back from? Was it the Cubs one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have I talked to you? I haven't talked to you since.
No, huh? You were on vacation last week, and
That's right. Yeah.
things were going on, but it was fun to get on there, and every time Council showed his head, he came out to the mound, he got booed. I mean, it was just boo. There wasn't, yeah, suck and this. It was just boo, which was fun, and I think he probably, I don't know if he enjoyed it, but I mean, he accepted it as far as this is what fandom is all about.
Yep.
And I deserve it for what I did to the Brewer fans.
But, and he's pretty much said that too.
Yeah, it was in good taste. I mean, it was, sometimes you boo kids, that's one thing, but you boo a guy like Council for what he did, and he knows what the game is all about. But it was fun. But then the next game, I sat on the first base side, and he's just as cerebral with the Cubs as he was with the Brewer. Just stands there, and you wouldn't know if his team was winning by 10 or losing by 10. That's just the calmness that he has.
Yeah. It works sometimes. Sometimes you may need a little bit of a different voice.
Yeah.
In there too.
Sometimes you might need a little excitement to fire the boys up.
All right, couple minutes left here. So again, what's on the docket for the Northern Wisconsin State Fair for you coming up here?
Today it's going to be a fun day. They'll start the dairy judging is starting right about now. And then at 1 o'clock, as I said, if you're up at the fair, come into the Custer Coliseum, because first place, it's nice and cool in there. And they'll have, it's going to be limited, but I'll bet there's going to be a big crowd in there. It's the Master Showman, they call it. The kids that won showmanship. And if you've never watched a livestock show, sometimes sit and watch. It's fun. But to watch the kids show, some of these kids are very accomplished at showing their animal. And by that, they're showing off their animal. They're standing them in front of the judge, accentuating the positive and where the meat is and this, that, and the other thing. And those kids are rewarded as the champion showman. And so they have beginner, intermediate, and senior. And the senior showman, for the first time ever at the Northern Wisconsin State Fair, are going to be involved today in a Master Showman competition with the 4 main species that are shown: beef and dairy cattle and hogs and sheep. And they'll each show one of those other species. They'll show their own, and they'll show, if I'm showing beef, I'll show my beef, then I'll show dairy, then I'll show a hog, and then I'll show a lamb. And so we'll rotate around of which exhibitor is the best showman overall. And it gets to be kind of fun, because they're, showing a hog is different than showing a lamb. A lamb, you stand there and hold it. A hog, you just keep him in front of the judge, keep him moving. Steer, you set up different than you set up a heifer or a cow. I mean, there's an art to it. And the kids that really become accomplished at it are very good, and it should be fun. That's at 1 o'clock. And then the big event tonight is the meat animal auction, where those animals that were shown and got quality grades as far as the meat is concerned are going to be sold at auction. That'll start at 6 o'clock, and they'll get her done in good shape. So it's just a big day at the fair.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned too, is it Lee Bryce is tonight?
Yep, he'll be tonight. And don't bring a sweatshirt. You don't need it.
No, not at all.
84 and sunny today.
Perfect. Grab some lemonade while you're over there too.
We'll grab some lemonade. Go Brewers. I'm picking the Pirates. I'm rooting for the Brewers.
Same here, man. The rest of you, maybe we'll see you at Carson Park for one of the games too. I'll be over there for the 11 o'clock one. So, but DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your Thursday. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, just past 6, to wrap up the week. Talk to you then.